Welcome in everybody to Betting Pros. It's time to place your bets. It is me, Joey P, Joe Pisapia, and this is Betting Pros NFL. Joining me as always to look ahead for the week is Andrew Erickson, the Undertaker himself. We're going to go through the early lines here on a Monday morning, fresh off of what we saw on Sunday, and we saw a lot. We saw maybe the end of Bryce Young as the quarterback for the Carolina Panthers. Is it time for the Red Rifle, Andy Dalton? I think it might be, Andrew Erickson. We've seen Will Levis continue to give games away. What was your big takeaway from Sunday's action here? We were close to a couple upsets, did not quite get them, but certainly a lot of news and a lot of, well, fun, I guess, and interesting moments in the NFL in week 2.
Well, I guess maybe this is, I'm not sure if I'm overreacting just the early portion of the season, but why are we betting on favorites? Why? What's the point?
I don't know. I don't know because the Ravens eliminated me from my Survivor pool. So I'm just pissed.
Why even play Survivor number one? Is anyone left? Are there anyone that's left in any of their Survivor pools?
I thought I was the hotshot guy. I thought I was really smart and fading away from the Bengals in week 1, and then goes, Baltimore. There's no way the Baltimore Ravens are going to lose at home against the Raiders. Well, they did. They did. And how about the Dallas Cowboys getting pwned by the New Orleans Saints yesterday? Are the New Orleans Saints for real, Andrew?
I think that their offense is for real. I mean, Clint Kubiak, that scheme is really perfecting those playmakers. It's using Rashid Shaheed in really unique ways, getting him open downfield. Again, I wrote about this in one of the props articles I wrote. When he plays zone coverage, he's going to catch a bomb. It happens every single week. And I was like, first thing, Dallas plays zone coverage. Rashid Shaheed, over. How long did it take for him to hit the over? 5 plays.
Not long.
So that's something to keep in mind as we're looking at the Saints. Now, again, the concern entering the year was the offensive line. But through 2 weeks, they've held up really, really well. So, again, it's a combination. How do teams overcome poor offensive line personnel? It's through scheme. It's through quick passes. It's through motion. It's through play action. And Clint Kubiak is doing that and firing on all cylinders with Derek Carr at the helm. And he looks really good.
All right, we're going to go through the games for week 3. Before we do, just a quick reminder, DraftKings Sportsbook is available right now, has an incredible offer for new customers. Bet $5, you instantly get 200 in bonus bets. Plus, you can enjoy 1 month of NFL Plus Premium on them. Sign up today at bettingpros.com/DraftKings and make your first deposit. Again, $5, get you 200, and you can stream more football. That sounds like a pretty good deal to me. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. All right, let's start with Thursday Night Football. Our Patriots going on the road to New York, short week, against the New York Jets. The Jets are 6.5-point favorites. 38.5 is the number for this one. The Pats on the money line plus 240. Andrew, this line feels pretty good to me. I don't see any early value right now, so I'm going to just stay away from it. Where are you at with the Pats and Jets?
I like the Pats. 6.5 points. What have we seen from the Jets that suggests that they can beat a team by a touchdown with them totally not imploding on their own? That's what we saw last week with the Titans. The Titans were practically begging the Jets to win by a touchdown and all the things, because that game was close. That game was competitive. It was 2 dominant defenses. The Jets offense isn't this, I think it's efficient, but it's not this super high-powered offense. That's not how they want to run the stuff over there. They're not trying to score 30 points on teams. They know that they don't need to score 30 points to beat the Patriots. All they do is want to beat the Patriots. They don't necessarily need to beat the Patriots by a touchdown. And through 2 weeks, this Patriots defense has been legit, right? And they should have beat the Seahawks at home. Again, they were underdogs, and they beat the Bengals already. So, again, it's a short week. Jacoby Brissett took a beating. That offensive line with the Patriots is horrible in pass pro. It's not going to hold up all year long, and that's going to cause some issues, but that's why the Jets are nearly a touchdown favorite. So, for me, I think the value is on New England in a game that I think is going to be low-scoring prime time.
I agree. The number's already low. 38.5, though. Jeez, I mean, it's already pretty low. I mean, it might be so low, too, that I still might go with it anyway, but I'm with you. If I was leaning one way, I'd be leaning on the Patriots side of this, and the 6.5 does feel like a lot, but short weeks are weird. I'm going to stay away from this one. I'm not going to stay away from this next one, though. The Indianapolis Colts at home against the Chicago Bears. Caleb Williams just took another sack while we were talking about the Jet game. They are 1-point favorites. The Colts are at home. 45.5 is the number here. You're getting even money on the money line for the Bears, but I'm looking right now at the Indianapolis Colts at minus 120. I think that is the best wager you can make. I mean, Caleb Williams does not seem like he's in a good spot. You want to talk about bad offensive lines? Well, the Bears' offensive line, it's basically a repeat of the Fields years with less theoretical weapons. You know, they gave him more weapons, but they really didn't protect him. And Caleb Williams is just taking sack after sack after sack. He's running around like a chicken with his head cut off. And I know that the Colts crap the bed in Green Bay. I get that. And I know the Colts defense isn't very good, but I'm still going to go with the Colts here at home. I'm taking them to win at home. I don't think the Bears are any good either. I think they're worse.
Well, you look at what have the Colts been really bad against? It's been the run. What have the Bears shown no ability to do over the first 2 weeks of the season?
Run the football.
So again, I'm trying to play, again, you got to play matchups here. And honestly, I think Shane Steichen, I think they got cute. They should have just given the ball to Jonathan Taylor more. They should have just absolutely, Taylor was over 100 rushing yards, and they were getting cute trying to take these shots downfield when there was no consistency. And I think the thing with the Colts, they need to get Anthony Richardson in rhythm. There's no rhythm with him. It's like, oh, he drop back, throw the ball 80 yards downfield, run the ball 5 times in a row. And then he's not getting any type of rhythm with the passing game. And I think that what could be a big boost for that is Josh Downs is going to be coming back to the lineup, I think, next week. So I think having that underneath outlet, because Adonai Mitchell, yes, he's a big play specialist, not reliable. He is so inconsistent. There are so many times where him and Anthony Richardson are not on the same page, and that's causing a disruption in the passing game. So I think getting Josh Downs back, playing at home, back in the dome, I think that you'll see a bounce back here from the Colts, who are usually a team that you want to take as a favorite. So I like the Colts at home as well.
And Downs was the guy in preseason that Richardson kept going on and on about. It's like, this is my guy. I feel really comfortable with him. The rapport was growing. So, yeah, give me the Colts here on the money line straight up there. If you want to take the -1, that's fine too. You're getting -110. It's even better. Go for it. The New York Football Giants, they're 0-2. They're going to head to Cleveland. Now, Cleveland got a victory. Deshaun Watson played better. Still not great, but better. The Giants are a hot mess. The Cleveland Browns are 6.5-point favorites. 38.5 is the number. Another low total here, under 40. Plus 260 on the money line for the New York Giants. Look, this is a tough spot here. You go 0-3 if you're the Giants. You're fighting for your life here. You're trying to stay relevant. Getting off to an 0-3 start is not the way to do it, Andrew, but it feels like it's going in that direction. That being said, I think this is more on the Cleveland defense than anything. Like I'm looking for the Cleveland defense to get them this win. 6.5, though, feels like a lot of points for the Cleveland Browns. Where are you at with this one?
Yeah, it's a lot. I think the value's on the Giants, but that doesn't mean I want to bet on Daniel Jones on the road against the Cleveland Browns, because it's just there's such a high percentage chance of turnovers. They couldn't score in the red zone against the worst defense in the NFL, the Washington Commanders. So if the Giants can't score touchdowns, then how are they supposed to cover the 7-point spread, which is a touchdown, Joe? So I'm not touching. I think right now this game is crossed off the card.
Now, and maybe the under. Now 38.5 against low number.
Yeah,
but
again,
still,
that's the thing. It's already it's
so low. It's just tough. Like if this was at like 41.5, I'd be like, okay, maybe under, but 38.5, we're already kind of begging for it. Some of these numbers in over/under in week 3 are not encouraging, and you're getting all these offensive players hurt.
When I was looking through this early slate, I'm like, oh my God, these games are so gross. There's a lot of gross games on
Speaking of gross, how about the next one? 37.5 for the Tennessee Titans at home against the Green Bay Packers. The Packers ran the ball 752 times yesterday and somehow came out with a victory. They are 2.5-point underdogs with Malik Willis on the road. It's the Malik Willis revenge game, Andrew. Boy. Plus 105 for the Packers on the money line. Give me the Packers on the money line plus 105. I'm going right for it. They're going to run the ball some more. And what have we learned so far in 2 games? Will Levis is going to do stupid things and hand the other team the game. He did it in week 1 against the Bears. He did it in week 2. He thinks he can make every play and every moment, and all he does is literally hand the ball to the other team and take scoring opportunities away from his. And so far, I don't see that changing. I don't know when it's going to change, if it's ever going to change, but I'm just going to go with the Packers here, which I can't believe it. I'm taking a Malik Willis Packers team on the road. I don't know what, I mean, this is week 3. We're here already. This is it.
Yeah, when I was handicapping this game, I think I went with the Titans -1, and that was just kind of doing a hat tip to, well, they're playing at home. And so, yeah, the value is on the Packers here. Give me the Malik Willis revenge game against the team that traded him for a 7th-round pick and said, no, we're going to ride with Malik Willis. Or, we're going to ride with Will Levis as our quarterback. And you look up, and Malik Willis already has more wins this year than Will Levis does.
Oh, God, not even think about it that way. Well, but plus 105, and give me plus money for Green Bay to find a way to win. Play defense, run the football, figure it out. They're getting Jaden Reed involved. Obviously, Jacobs are going to work a ton. Marshawn Lloyd's come back now. They're just going to run the ball some more. And I'm sorry. Like, Will Levis might have that fun throw here or there, but it is terrible to watch him literally just try to do too much every week and just implode. implode.
You
His
saw
team
what
chances of
Callahan was
winning.
saying on the sideline, right? When he did that weird side throw thing.
Oh my God. So appalling. All right. The New Orleans Saints are 2-0. They just handed the Cowboys their lunch, and yet they are still underdogs at home. Plus 2.5 against the Eagles. We'll see what the Eagles have in store for us on Monday Night Football. Now, A.J. Brown not playing in that game, so we shall see here if he is back for this coming week. So that kind of does show up potentially in some of these early lines here. The way things are going, it feels like the New Orleans Saints are the way to go here with the 2.5. The total for this one much higher, 48.5. If you like the New Orleans Saints on the money line at plus 120. I don't know if I want to go there, but I like the New Orleans Saints with the points here because until they show me different, I've got to keep rolling with the Saints, Andrew. Where are you at here?
Yeah, I think too, after we see the Eagles play the Falcons, I think you're probably going to see maybe more value on the Saints. So I like the Saints here as well.
Yeah, I'm fascinated to see because I think if this number could change if the Eagles don't look good, if they lose to the Falcons tonight, if there's more news on A.J. Brown. This is one of the more intriguing numbers to jump on early. If you're watching the show before Monday night when this gets released. So I'd be watching this one.
What I will say too is the Eagles have an early bye week. I believe it's week 5. So if they wanted to hold out A.J. Brown just because, hey, like we got bigger fish to fry, we play in the NFC, the path to the number 1 seed in the NFC is much easier to get to than the number 1 seed in the AFC, for example, which seems like the Chiefs are already getting ready. It doesn't matter how many of their offensive players get hurt, but
they handled the Ravens at home and then they handled
they just
the
beat
Bengals at home.
Yeah, they just beat two powerhouses.
Their pathway to the Super Bowl just got so much easier with those 2 victories. I can't even fathom it. I mean, they're going to have the bye most likely, and they're probably going to have the 2 home playoff games. Those 2 wins out of the gate were so important, and I know they lost Pacheco for a while, and it's going to hurt them a little bit, but let's be honest. They're a throw-first offense anyway. They'll patch it together like they always do at the running back position because that's what Andy Reid's always done.
Yeah.
The Darnell Williams, the Darrell Williamses, the guys off the waiver wire. Samaje Perine will get his stuff, and Carson Steele, and who knows who else they'll sign. The Los Angeles Chargers are 2-0. So are the Pittsburgh Steelers, also 2-0. The total for this game is 36.5. Pittsburgh has been grinding out these victories. The Chargers had a Quentin Johnston appearance yesterday for 2 touchdowns. The Pittsburgh Steelers are 2.5-point favorites at home. That feels right to me. The Chargers on the money line plus 115. Andrew, walk us through this contest here because we don't know, is this where Russell Wilson comes back or do we still get Fields? So with that being said, is there any early value on this one?
I took the Steelers already, so I bet this early at minus 2.5. I like the Steelers at home. We do have some question marks about the health of Justin Herbert. He took a weird sack. He finished the game, but he was getting tested after the game, so I was trying to get ahead of any quarterback news. I know Herbert was dealing with that foot injury earlier in the offseason. I also bet the under. Again, we did this song and dance last year with the Steelers. Every game was 20 points total. Like that's what was happening because TJ Watt takes over these games. They're not trying to score touchdowns. They want to grind it out, grind the games through the mud, and Harbaugh is giddy about that. He's like, "Oh, sign me up, baby! I'm ready for a 10-13, tug of war, slugfest." So yes, I think that the under is the play here until I see otherwise to suggest that the Steelers are trying to be aggressive on offense, and the same thing with the Chargers. They want to run the football. So I like the Steelers by the 2.5 and the under.
I love that it's the lowest number, and we're still both of us on the under.
They just did this last year too. It was
until
until we see something different. Just keep on the unders on the Steelers games.
I'm with you, dude. I'm with you. Houston at Minnesota. Minnesota Vikings gotten off to a really good start. They're at home. Houston Texans, obviously, a pretty complete team, a playoff team last year. Vikings have a new lease on life here. We do have the injury to Justin Jefferson, but it seems like he's going to play. But regardless here, Minnesota, 3.5-point underdogs in their own building. 46.5 is the number. Plus 140 for Minnesota to win this game. This is a very tricky game here, I think, for the Houston Texans. They got to be careful here. Because when you have a game wrecker like Justin Jefferson, and Darnold keeps getting confidence every single week, I think that's a very dangerous thing here. I actually like Minnesota with the points. I think the 3.5 is really nice. So I'm on the Minnesota side of this one. I think Houston, does find a way to win, but I can't deny what Minnesota's been able to do so far. And I think the confidence of Sam Darnold is something not to dismiss. But what do you think about this one?
So I'm looking at one of these updated lines here, and I'm seeing that at least at ESPN bet on the BettingPros dashboard, you can get the Houston Texans minus 1.5. So I like that number in particular because the Texans have been a weird team because you look at this year and you think, oh, like they've been good. They're 0-2 against the spread somehow, some way. They just have it's been on the slimmest of margins. Like it was 6.5. They beat the Bears by 6 points. It was 2.5 against the Colts in the opener. They won by 2 points. So they've just kind of been on that. I think that you're going to see it regress a little bit. I think that at 1.5, I think that they can win by a field goal here. I think that they are the better team over the Minnesota Vikings. They are playing in the dome. I'm not afraid of, hey, Minnesota's at home. I'm afraid of this. Look, I think CJ Stroud, there's too many weapons for Brian Flores to try to combat here with what they have. What they can run the ball. They can throw the ball. I mean, you saw that Nico Collins was the only receiver really involved last night, and they were still able to win. Right? Yeah. Diggs and Tank Dell were basically non-factors, and Joe Mixon was banged up during the game. They couldn't run the football as effectively as week 1. So I think they find a way to get it done. -1.5, I like those odds.
Before we get to our next game, just a reminder to sync your sportsbooks for free. Download the BettingPros app and use the tools, including Betting Systems, which is a tool designed to help you find winning strategies and make smarter bets. You can customize your betting systems by sport, by bet type, and time frame to find the best opportunities using real-time data and expert analysis. Track the performance of different betting systems over time and optimize your bets to increase your chances of success. Download the BettingPros app right now to elevate your betting strategy and start betting smarter, not harder. Next one up here on our list of games for week 3, we have the Denver Broncos 0-2 against my Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm wearing the Bucs shirt today on the show. MVP Baker Mayfield. Do you like the sound of that? MVP Baker Mayfield. Oh, the first 2 games. Who's the MVP of the league?
I mean, it's not Derek Carr.
Maybe it's Derek Carr. If not, it's Baker Mayfield. And they're going to get another W here. They are 6.5 point favorites. I know that seems like a huge number. Bo Nix is wretched. We knew this going in. I think things are going to unravel quickly in Denver. The number for this one is 39.5. Plus 260 for Denver on the money line. Look, I think Tampa's going to handle their business and stomp a mud hole in Denver. And I think this is a team you've really got to look now at the South and say, hey, if Atlanta doesn't get their what together, the Bucks and the Saints are going to leave them in the dust. And I know it's early and I don't want to be hyperbolic, but the Buccaneers look like a team that's ready to go. Now, Vita Vea is dealing with an injury. That's one to keep an eye on. But I feel very confident about this one. I know it's a big number for the Bucks, but Denver on the road, I got no faith in Bo Nix. I think he's going to struggle again. What are your thoughts on this one? Am I just too giddy here with the Kool-Aid for the Baker Mayfield Bucks?
No, I mean, they just beat the Lions, who were considered the Super Bowl favorite or top contender in the NFC
in their own building.
In their own building, and they're playing a rookie quarterback at home. A rookie quarterback that has not looked great in the 2 regular season games that he has played. He's been a turnover machine. So with Todd Bowles and that defense they played so well against the Lions. I mean, Jared Goff was making a ton of mistakes. I know that they put up a lot of yards, but they were forcing Jared Goff to turn the ball over, and that's what ultimately ended up getting them the victory. So I think that even how they're a little bit undermanned with the injuries in their secondary, again, you mentioned the injury to Vita Vea. Well, last I checked, the Denver Broncos leading rusher through 2 weeks is Bo Nix. So I'm not so sure that the Denver Broncos running back can even take advantage of Vita Vea not being there to plug up the interior, because the Denver Broncos cannot run the football a lick. So I love Tampa Bay. I thought that the spread should be closer to 7.5. So 6.5, yes, easy for me.
The Carolina Panthers winless take on the Las Vegas Raiders, who got a huge road win. A great moment there in that game too, where Minshew throws an early pick. Max Crosby runs on the field, grabs him, holds him, is pumping him up, saying, "Don't let it bother you." All these things, I got you. All this stuff. It was wild. And then the Raiders somehow found a way to win that football game. They are at home, 7-point favorites. The Raiders are at home. You're not going to see that very often this year. But again, it's Carolina. I don't know if Bryce Young makes it through this game. I really don't. Which actually worries me a little bit about that 7, just a little bit. Does Andy Dalton come out there and does he, do enough and get things done and just kind of sling the football around old school veteran style to maybe keep this one closer? We'll see. 38 is the number for this one. Plus 270 on the money line for the Panthers. Not touching that one. So I know it's a big number with the 7, considering it's the Las Vegas Raiders, but coming off a huge win, that momentum's got to be enormous for them. I got to imagine, Andrew, they can build that into this week and say, hey, we got a cookie matchup here. Let's go beat this team and then continue to stay in this playoff hunt. And I think that is right there for the taking. I don't think the Raiders are going to whiff on this one. And I don't know if the Panthers are up for a fight.
I mean, if the Panthers can't score a touchdown, how are they supposed to cover the 7 points? That's kind of the way I see it. And to me, I feel like the Panthers these lines as we go forward through the season, as Bryce Young continues to be the starter for the Panthers, it's basically how big does the line have to be to get someone to bet the underdog? To bet the Panthers, like what is it going to take for, it's got to be 10 points for me to take a shot on the Panthers at this point because they can't score. They can't score touchdowns. They were losing the entire game and they're taking dink and dunk passes with Bryce Young. They're not attacking downfield. He just looks overmatched, and half the passes he's doing, he has to jump. He's doing jump passes on standard dropbacks. And again, great college quarterback, but we see a lot of great college quarterbacks not transition into
good college quarterback on a great team. That's where I will good college quarterback on a great team. That's that, and I always felt that. So you can go back and check the receipts on that one. Ask Scott Bogman for the years that we were covering college football together. I was always very tough on Bryce Young. Miami, Seattle. Now, Miami did sign Tyler Huntley recently. That just news came across earlier today off the practice squad. So we'll see
Pro Bowler
Tyler Huntley. So we'll see is it Skylar Thompson who's playing for them. But Seattle at home, they are 6.5 point favorites on this one at -110 at BettingPros. 41.5 is the number for this game. Plus 225 for Miami on the money line. HN got a ton of work. Now they have a little bit of extra rest here. It feels like a tall order for Miami to go on the road without their quarterback and get this W, but is the 6.5 too much respect for Seattle?
I think it's too much. I think it's too much. When you look at, we see this all the time. When backup quarterbacks make their first start, everyone is kind of counting them out. And what do? They cover the spread, or sometimes they win outright. Look who Seattle has played through 2 weeks. Bo Nix and the Denver Broncos offense didn't cover. And the they played the Patriots this past week and had to go to overtime to win. And depending on what line you got, they may not have covered that spread either. So they've been, again, another team very on the margins of covering these spreads. And everyone's, we got Seattle's at home. Count out the Miami Dolphins, who are coming off extra rest, number one. And Skylar Thompson is familiar with the system. He's been in this system for 3 years. He started a playoff game for the Miami Dolphins as 13.5 point underdogs in Buffalo. They almost won that game outright. So I'm a believer that when you look at the scheme that McDaniel has in Miami, he's going to put Skylar Thompson in a position to succeed with Tyreek Hill, with Jalen Waddle, with Devon Achane. Those guys can make huge plays. What team have they faced that has that type of weaponry between the Patriots and the Broncos? Not even close. So I think that this is going to be much closer. So I love the underdogs here with the Miami Dolphins on the road.
I mean, it would be a huge upset if they won outright. You think that's possible?
You know,
plus 225 on it. Like that's a really intriguing, you sold me so much that I almost say, hey, I mean, the points is safe at the 6.5, but the money line play at plus 225, that's a big number.
Well, it reminds me of, and this is something that Ryan Wormley has brought up on the Fantasy Pro Show when it comes to this Mike McDonald defense from the Seattle Seahawks, formerly of the Ravens. It's very complex. So it takes, sometimes with the Ravens, it took a little bit of time for their players to gel. And I just think that these past 2 matchups between the Broncos and the Patriots, those offenses don't have the weaponry to expose that type of defense. But Miami, Miami does. Miami has the horses to get it done. And all Skylar Thompson has to do is, just get the ball to your playmakers. And I think he can do that. So I like Miami a lot here. And again, we're seeing so many underdogs just win. I'm like, I'd be more hesitant. I don't know, Joe. I think they'll just cover. It's like, well, if they're going to cover, they might as well just win too. So let's go with the Dolphins.
Plus 225, baby. All right, here's one that's really exciting. Detroit coming off a tough home loss. Going to Arizona coming off a big home win. Arizona's been putting up points on Buffalo. They put up a huge game yesterday against the Rams, a depleted Rams team, but still impressive nonetheless. The Lions are 3-point favorites on the road. They're 51.5. Giant total for this one, the highest of the week. It's plus 140 for the Cardinals on the money line. Despite the fact that this number is high at 51.5, I think there's potential for the over. However, it depends on the health of Amon-Ra St. Brown. We got some update on him that, again, feels like things are going to be okay. He's going to end up playing in this one. But the Lions, I think the first 2 weeks, I don't want to say sleepwalking, but sleepwalking, Andrew. I mean, I kind of feel like that's what they've been doing a little bit, where maybe they're reading their own press clippings. Maybe that loss at home is exactly what they need to kind of jolt themselves. But this is not a cakewalk assignment anymore, because the Arizona Cardinals are going to put up points. I mean, Marvin Harrison Jr., oh yeah, well, he is good at football. Oh yeah, no kidding. It was a pretty incredible day for him. And guess what, Kyler Murray, it is your job to find Marvin Harrison Jr., because when you do, you get W's. So this one is really interesting to me. I think it's going to go over, even though it's a high total. That is the most appealing one to me. I think this one could really open up over time. I don't believe necessarily in the Cardinals defense. And as much as Aiden Hutchinson is a game wrecker, and he was yesterday, I mean, Kyler Murray is so mobile, he's able to get out there in space, and that's kind of what was the undoing last week. With the Baker Mayfield making moves and getting out there in space, that was kind of the undoing of the Lions defense, and Murray is even more mobile than Baker Mayfield. I think we can agree on that.
Yeah. So I like the over as well. I mean, next to Ford Field, the Glendale, Arizona is where all the overs hit. All last year, every single game went over the total. That was the Joshua Dobbs Cardinals. That was not even the Kyler Murray Cardinals. All those games went over the total. So the Lions coming off back-to-back home games where you didn't go over the total. I mean, regression to the mean, baby, is screaming for an over here. So I love the over here play. And again, because it's a game that could go so back and forth, kind of like my analysis last week with the Buccaneers and the Lions, well, just take the underdog. If it's going to come down to the last possession and neither defense can stop the offense, I think the value is on the Cardinals. And again, we were high on the Cardinals entering this year. Like we thought that, I know I had NFC, could they win the NFC West? I haven't looked at the updated odds of who could be the NFC West winner. I don't know what they are for Arizona. I know that in the offseason it was plus 1,300, and I know it's definitely not plus 1,300 anymore. But so that's how I'm looking at the situation. I like the Cardinals here. I'm going to keep backing them.
You are correct. It is half of that. It is plus 600 currently. So, and with the way plus 1,300 for the Rams right now. And speaking of the Rams, they are at home winless without Cooper Kupp, without Puka Nacua, without an offensive line. They're 7-point dogs at home against the San Francisco 49ers, who once again crapped the bed in Minnesota 2 years in a row. 45.5 is the number. I like the under in this one because I'm concerned that Los Angeles can keep up at all the way that offensive line is right now. Plus 280 for an upset. No, thank you. I'll pass. But to me, look, this is a San Francisco just get right game here. You handle your business in your division. You had a tough loss on the road to Minnesota. Minnesota's got some big playmakers. Justin Jefferson rang you up. Okay, you come back home, you run the football, you play defense, and you get by. I still am fading them on the season overall, but I don't think this is the week where I'm fading the 49ers. So I'm back on the 49ers this week after fading them last week. So I'm very mercurial when it comes to the San Francisco 49ers this year. But how do you see this one?
Yeah, so the only reason I can't go in on the 49ers is because in this matchup last year between these two teams, I remember Sean McVay kicked a useless field goal to cover the spread for the Rams, and I'll never forget it. So I'm going to stay free from sides here. I like the under too. This was when I was doing my projections. This was the game that went under the total on the boards versus my projections the most. What did you say the number was? I was seeing it at 46.5. And I
45.5, 46.5.
Yeah,
depends
so,
on where you're
yeah,
at.
I like the under there for sure.
Yeah, I like the under too. I just don't know if the Los Angeles Rams can put up an offense.
They don't have the horses. They're
no
all
Puka,
injured.
no Cooper Kupp. Look,
Everyone's banged up.
Demarcus Robinson, Tyler Johnson, Whittington, Kyron Williams, it's just not enough. I don't think at the end of the day. I could see them putting up 13. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe not, but we'll see. And again, that pass rush with that bad offensive line right now, all dinged up, is not good. So here we go. Two teams coming off embarrassing losses. I never thought I'd say this. The 0-2 Ravens, yikes, against the 1-1 Dallas Cowboys. This feels like a fork in the road. And these out of conference games are always weird to begin with. So the Cowboys are 1-point underdogs at home. I don't know. I feel like that's wrong. I feel like the Ravens should be favored. I don't know why. It doesn't feel right to me with the way the Dallas Cowboys looked yesterday. 47.5 is the number. Minus 115 for the Ravens to win outright. Minus 105 for the Cowboys to win outright. So the Ravens are favored by 1. It feels like they should be favored by more. Let me just be clear about that one. I don't know why. I know they completely embarrassed yesterday. Maybe it's just that letdown. Maybe they just took the Raiders for granted, after that big, it's week 1, we're playing the Chiefs, and you just kind of, all that emotion kind of comes out. I think the Ravens show up here. I think the Ravens win this football game. I just have very little faith in Dallas. And look, the last 2 times we've seen Dallas at home, they have taken embarrassing loss after embarrassing loss. That playoff game to the Packers was embarrassing. And yesterday against the Saints and Derek Carr, complete embarrassment. Your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, so I talked about this on the BettingPros live stream with Matt Peralt, talking about how the Raiders were in a good spot and how the Ravens were not going to cover that massive spread because the Ravens play down to their competition. They do this all the time. They did this all last year. It's why the Colts went in under Gardner Minshew and beat them in overtime. And Gardner Minshew, again, 2-0 in the last 2 years against the Ravens because they play down to their competition. They play with their food. They don't take inferior teams and just beat them. They're like, no, we're going to do experiment. We're going to do this and that. They're not going to take, especially after losing at home, they're not going to take Dallas lightly. So I actually was able to get this one at Baltimore plus 1.5, which I think is still, I don't think it's available anymore. But I mean, if the Ravens were an underdog, easy bet to make. You always want to bet on Lamar Jackson as an underdog in any situation. But yeah, this is a matchup where, yes, the Ravens should be favored. I don't care if Dallas is playing at home. I don't care if they're playing on the moon. To be honest, it doesn't really matter.
They're favored
by
1. I think it should be Baltimore 3.
Yeah,
I think it's -3 on Baltimore.
I agree. It's a game where Lamar should bounce back. This is a team that they're not going to be taking lightly like they did last week against the Raiders. Right. So I think you're going to see their best effort. And Dallas, look, they're always set up so well, especially when they play at home. But you're right, back-to-back home losses. Ugh.
No, not good. Kansas City Chiefs 2-0. Go to take on Atlanta. I expect Kirk Cousins actually tonight to have a good game. Last time we saw Kirk Cousins in Philadelphia last year, he put up a huge game, almost 400 yards passing. I know it was with Justin Jefferson and all that, but still, some guys just play well against certain teams, and I feel like Cousins just plays well against the Eagles for whatever reason. The number here for this one is Kansas City, -4.5. 46.5 is the total on this one, plus 180 for the Falcons on the money line. Look, they're not going to have Pacheco for this game, so it takes a hit in the run game for them for sure, but I'm still pretty confident here. I'll take the 4.5 with Kansas City regardless, but Travis Kelce needs to start showing up too. I know there was a big catch he had that got called back on a holding call, but like at a certain point here, if we're really like, Kelce needs to step up. He needs to start playing better because he has not been a factor really enough in these last 2 games.
No, definitely not involved nearly enough in the offense. I think that the lines are pretty sharp here, 4.5, 45.5 total. So I'm not touching this. I kind of want to see what Atlanta does a little bit on Monday Night Football. But yeah, I'd probably be back in the Chiefs right now.
All right, Jacksonville at Buffalo. Buffalo's 2-0. Jacksonville is winless so far. Buffalo 6-point favorites at home. Josh Allen just taking over games the first 2 weeks. That's basically what he's done. 46.5 is the number. And your boy who runs between the 20s scored a lot of touchdowns last time I looked. James Cook just was cooking. He was unbelievable in that game. All the TDs. Jacksonville for the upset, plus 225. It's tough here. Like, it feels like Jacksonville is going to end up looking at 0-3, and it feels like Buffalo is once again in control of this division, especially with Miami having this quarterback situation and the Jets looking like a team that, you know, is still trying to figure things out and get out of their own way. So I like Buffalo. The 6 is a good amount, but I have no faith right now in Jacksonville to get it done. So I'll take the side here with Buffalo. Where are you at?
I don't like this game, honestly. I think that I don't see any value on either the side or the total. Again, they're playing in Buffalo. The Jacksonville offense has kind of been a mess. So I'm not touching either side right now at this point. And I will say,
these are the 2 Monday night games too. So we have Sunday Night Football KC. This is one of the 2 Monday nighters.
Doubleheader Monday Night Football. And to go back to the James Cook point, the entire time when he was scoring all those touchdowns, in my mind, I'm thinking about in Happy Gilmore, right? When he finally learns how to putt, it's like, hey, James Cook finally learned how to score touchdowns.
Finally learned. And you know what? They should be continuing to give him the ball. He's been fantastic.
He's good.
You know, and plus it'll take some mileage off of Josh Allen. I understand what your thought process is too. Like, I get it. I get why you're a little scared of this game, but with the way Josh Allen's played and the extra rest all the way going to the Monday, so they played on the Thursday and they don't play again until the Monday, and they're at home. I think that's a big swing for the Buffalo Bills. The Cincinnati Bengals need a win at home. I think they get it this coming week here against the Washington Commanders. The Commanders are 1-1. The Bengals are 0-2. 7.5-point favorites. It's a big number for the Bengals. I don't know if I'm there with this number, but I do think the Bengals win this contest. 48.5 is the total, plus 285 for the Washington Commanders. So the question is this: do you want to take the Washington side of the points, or is this the Bengals coming out party in week 3?
This has to be the Bengals coming out party. I mean, if Joe
Especially
Burrow
against that secondary.
If Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase don't combine for 3 touchdowns in this game, I'm going to be very, very sad because they need to get going. They need to get cooking. Well, week 1, he was coming off the hold in or whatever, and then week 2, what do we see from the Chiefs? What do? They try to take away your number 1 weapon. They always do that, and they were making sure that Chase was not going to beat them. So I say Yoshi Voss catch 2 touchdowns, and it wasn't Chase that was really involved. So, but they always suck in September. You know, I think they're in Zach Taylor's 6 seasons, they've been 0-2 in 5 of them to start the year. So slow starters from the get-go, but this is where you start to see them cooking. They're back at home. The Commanders have the NFL's worst secondary. I mean, Malik Neighbors was good. Daniel Jones was good against this defense throwing the ball yesterday. So Joe Burrow, this is where they can build some momentum. So I think this one actually could get pretty ugly.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think Cincinnati coming out party as well. But what do you think? Drop your comments below. Subscribe to the Betting Pros YouTube channel and ring the bell till it goes ding so you don't miss a second of coverage here on BP NFL. We've also got the Daily Juice every single day. We got our boy Terrell doing all the WNBA. Before you know it, NBA stuff will be around the corner as well. And don't forget to sync your sportsbooks for free. Download the Betting Pros app. Start betting smarter, not harder. That'll do it for us. That's the look ahead for Week 3. For Andrew Erickson, I'm Joey P. We'll see you next time, kids.